different. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, the standard thing is, okay, you bring in the product owners and the key players of the team and talk about user stories, prioritize stuff, and do like story point estimation and stuff. Do you guys do anything different?
Do all of that. No, we don't do anything different. The thing that we're pretty comfortable with is making sure we have a product backlog that's prioritized, right, by the product owner. We're pretty comfortable. We estimate everything. We do velocity. You know, we point everything. We do velocity, and we leverage that velocity for the planning within the IPM. So I don't believe we do anything different from the standard practices that are out there.
When you say you guys do estimation, how much of analysis development team does?
So we do analysis. If teams can't estimate because they need more analysis, we'll give them time. Typically, we like to do sprint, or what we call architectural spikes. If we have a huge architectural issue that's going to happen and we need more time to learn that before we make actual estimates, we'll do that. We also leverage t-shirt sizing. Okay, so we will estimate in a t-shirt size before we ever get to points. Okay, I like to say we estimate constantly, and we really do. We estimate at very different levels of granularity, all from the point up to t-shirt sizes, that type of stuff.
What do you think are the key successes to have constant estimates?
What's the key success to constant estimates or consistent estimates? Have the whole team do it. Have the whole team do it. Remember, you're trying to understand how long it's going to take them to do the work, not how long it's going to take an architect to do the work. We actually have a process at Nationwide where architects do estimates. If you ever asked an architect how long it's going to take them to do development, remember, they're probably one of the best developers you got. And I'm going to guess their estimate is about this big, when in reality, it's about that big. Be cautious of that. Go ahead.
Do you put t-shirt sizes on everything in the first 40 points? Or
Yep.
just the ones you don't?
Nope. We attempt to do it for everything. To be honest, if we know enough and we can get to a point right away, we'll do it. It's not a requirement. We let teams have leniency within that. They have tools and techniques called t-shirt sizing and points. They get to choose. Ultimately, they know they need to get to a point, but they get to choose.
Do you have a standard point system that you use for across all your teams so they're all consistent?
So the question is, do we have standard point systems across the team? People ask me all the time, what's the size of a point? Is it consistent across teams? No, it is not. It's relative. Each team gets to choose the size of a point, and it's all relative to what they know and what they've done before. Velocity, we have situations where some teams' velocity are about 20 points a month, 30 points a month. We have some teams that are 400. That's because the size of a point is different from one team to another. One of the things that's important with that is we could not use that to do productivity. Okay? If one team's doing 400 points, it looks like if a customer saw one team's doing 400 points and another team's doing 40, which one are they going to choose? The 400, right? That's why we use lines of code. Go ahead.
Do you track daily hours?
Yes, we do. Do we track daily hours is the question. We do track it. We try to track it at a more aggregate level, not at a story level. We actually try to track it more at a release, but our accountants get to us, so they want us to go at a lower level, but we do track it. Go ahead.
Are the developers talking to the analyst, or are they talking to the product owner? How's that all? Because you have that 3 Amigo thing going on front, and then they hand it off to the development. You're talking about handing it offshore. So how's that developer interaction work?
So the question is, who does the developer interact with, right?
And how?
So the developer interacts with first their pair, okay? So other developers. They also interact during the iteration with what we call the 3 Amigos, which the 3 Amigos are the key roles, which are requirements, developers, and testers. Okay? They all interact at the beginning, and they also interact at the end. Okay? They do separate at some point in time in order to get their work done. But reality is we're all one team, and they interact with everyone. One of the things that's important, and I don't know how much experience you have with Agile, but Ken Schwaber made a comment about the idea of done, right? We believe that the whole team has to commit to getting everything done. So if a tester's not done with their work, and we still have a card that's not done, the whole team has to try to figure out how to solve that problem. So that means developers could go test. We call it polyskilling. Learned that from ThoughtWorks. That's another good vendor, ThoughtWorks. If teams fall behind, the old culture would have said, okay, developers, you go on to the next release or next iteration, right? And we'll just have the testers work over the weekend. How many people are here are testers, ever been a tester? It's not very much fun, is it? Testers are always complaining because they never get help, and developers take too long. We don't do that. We don't do that. Teams commit to getting done. Teams commit to the plan. Teams commit to the velocity. The entire team gets the job done. And that means developers may test. That means requirements analysts may test. We are actually looking at testers being developers. We're working on ATDD, Acceptance Test-Driven Development. If you know anything about that, testers have to code. Testers have to code automated tests. They have to learn Ruby. We use Cucumber. They need to learn Ruby. We're now hiring developers for testers. That's a huge culture change for us. Go ahead.
Once you've identified your velocity for a particular team and you know your capacity, does t-shirt sizing drive what stories go into a particular iteration?
Does t-shirt size? Yes, it does. But fundamentally, it's more the product backlog and prioritization that'll drive what iteration they show up in. But you're absolutely right. We will attempt to take t-shirt sizing. And really what happens is we do t-shirt sizing at the very beginning, and when we have the first engagement with the customer. And then once we start drilling down into points as soon as possible. Go ahead.
How similar or different are the different Agile teams, and how much leeway do you give them to be different? For example, if they say, I only want to use 7 of your 21 T-leads, I don't want to do stand-ups, I don't want to do pair programming, is that okay?
No, absolutely not. We will not be CMMI level 3 if we let, and the question was, how much leeway do we give teams, right? I will tell you that our standard work is at a level that's kind of high, but that standard work is fundamentally how we got to CMMI level 3. And if we allow teams to violate that, okay, here's what we do. We ask them, why are you violating it? And if they say, we can do it better, great. Get into our Kaizen process and let's get everybody to do it, okay? Just because you can make it work in your team, it might be of value to everybody else. And that means we want to change standard work. We do standard work assessments twice a year for every team, and we ding them when they're not doing our standard work, okay? And if they aren't doing it, we ask why, and if it's better, we'll change it. Remember, you want the change from the people who do the work. And if they found a better way, that's gold. And you got to figure out how to get it up to everybody else. How much time we got, Tina? 5 minutes? Go ahead.
So if all the, I'm not really sure about the sizes of the teams, but they seem fairly small. Just wondering, where is there room for like personal growth? Now, or do you have leads for the different areas?
Yeah, so we have a staffing model that's actually in our standard work. Our teams are no smaller than 12 and no bigger than 20. That's our model. We do violate it every once in a while. But within that, we have what we call our 4 keys, which are kind of the technique leaders within the room. So an iteration manager, which is a scrum master, requirements analyst, developer, and tester. They're kind of our leadership within the room, and they're not leadership in terms of design or anything like that. They're leadership in terms of technique. So for instance, our tech dev lead is very strong at TDD, concepts of pair programming, continuous integration. Our requirements analyst is very strong at things like Gherkin being able to write acceptance criteria in Gherkin, things like that. So they're really responsible for technique. That's what we bring to the table. When customers ask us to come to help them out, we're bringing technique. We're not bringing asset SME knowledge. That's not what we have. We have technique. We know how to build software. We're almost like an internal consulting company to Nationwide. Other questions? Go ahead.
So your developers are not, again, how much business knowledge do they have? And how much subject matter experts are they versus, okay, I know how to code, that's it?
So because we've grown from bringing people into our teams from the business IT, we do have a lot of asset knowledge. But remember, there's 1,200 assets. We don't have that many people. So that's why we rely on the customers to bring in SME knowledge to the room. And we bring in technique. So we're trying to train our developers and our experts to really be experts at process and technique.
So you try to separate that, and I suppose in theory you can take a person from this team, put them on this team, and they just pick right up and not have to have a learning curve of all the business.
Yes. Go ahead.
Do you have dedicated product owners for each of these teams?
No, one of the engagement things that we do is we require the customer to bring in a product owner. We actually offer up training. I think it's the product owner certification. But we attempt to train them as much as possible to make them good product owners. That is one of the challenges. Nationwide doesn't believe in a single person making a decision. At Nationwide, we have no one person can make a decision. We have to have meeting after meeting after meeting, right? So the concept of a product owner is very foreign. So we're making really good strides, though. People understand that if there's one single decision maker, that team is not going to be blocked, and they're going to be more productive. And that's why we have to have product owners. Go ahead.
So do you believe in like script testing or ad hoc testing in Agile methodology?
Do I believe in script testing or ad hoc testing?
Yeah. So because I heard like people are like in Agile methodology, ad hoc is like more, good approach to find more defects in quicker manner instead of wasting time writing the scripts.
Okay, so here's what I believe in testing. If you're not automating it, you're wasting your time. You need to find, my belief, okay, this is my belief. If you don't find a way to automate everything you do, how can you change anything every 2 weeks? Regression testing happens every day across every level of testing in our teams. We create thousands of JUnits that are run within less than an hour, okay? We create tons, I don't know how many, of functional tests in Cucumber that are run constantly. We want to make sure that when we make a change, we don't break anything that we've already built, okay? So ad hoc testing, I don't believe in it because you're not automating it. Ad hoc testing is, hey, I just want to play with the system. No, I don't believe that. I believe you should be automating everything you do. If you have an idea of what you should be testing, write it down and put it in something that can be automated. We actually are trying to push the envelope on what can be automated. There are many techniques. A lot of people say, well, JUnits are only middle tier. How do you do UI? We're working on JavaScript unit testing. We're working on that now. We're trying to push the envelope in COBOL. Remember, all of our domains, we're not just the Java domain shop. We have COBOL. We do COBOL unit. We have data warehousing, where we're trying to leverage techniques on the data warehouse side for unit tests and automation tests. We're pushing the envelope on all of it. We don't want technology to be a hindrance to our practices and processes.